Hello everyone, welcome back to class again. My name is Timi Olajide Arishe and I'm your facilitator for BUS818, which is rewards and compensation management. So I'm glad to have you back in class today. So we are going to move on to our next lesson, which is lesson 2. The nature and context of total reward. And so basically, for today's topic, we are going to be looking at the nature of total reward. We're also going to be looking at the context of total reward. And lastly, we'll be looking at the reasons and principles of total rewards. This is more of like a discussion forum whereby, we can actually discuss problems, and provide solutions to those existing problems. So basically, we are just going to go through the slides. I think we have about 10 slides. We're just going to run through them. And if anyone has any question, you can always send me a mail, or we can actually meet at the chat forum every Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And so the lesson objective for lesson 2 as follows. You should be able to explain the nature of total reward, and you should be able to describe the context of total reward, and lastly, you should be able to discuss the reasons and principles of total reward. And so we move on to the lesson proper, the nature of total reward, which is our first objective. And what is total reward? Total reward has to do with, reward, the total reward, basically all inclusive, indirect, direct, intrinsic, extrinsic rewards, and the likes of it. And under them, we can have the employment benefits, we can have monetary benefits, we can have pay, we can have health benefits, and so on and so forth. We are going to be looking at this, reward system, the intrinsic, the extrinsic, direct and indirect reward system at a later pace. So basically, for what we are concentrating now is just the total reward system. All this is what it includes, in most organized organization. So under the total reward, we have two major categories of rewards. We have the transactional reward and we have the relational reward. And what do we understand by transactional rewards? Transactional reward actually have to do with tangible rewards arising from transactions between the employer and employees concerning pay and benefits. So basically, tangible rewards are actually, things that you receive. For instance, now, if I just get employed in a particular organization, and prior to when I receive my acceptance letter, it's going to be stated the amount of money, I'm going to be earning every month. That's basically the reward for, my contribution towards the organization every month. And also it might include benefits that accrue to me, for working for that particular organization. Benefits can include health benefits, insurance, loans, car loans, and so many other things, depending on the kind of organization one is working for. So basically, that's the transactional reward, And we move on to the relational reward, and relational reward has to do with intangible rewards, concerned with learning and development in the work environment. So basically, this kind of reward has to do with, it's basically not monetarily monetary values are not really attached to this, but basically it's like, the organization developing your skills, in the working environment. And so under the relational relationship, and we have two aspects there. We have the learning and development, and we have the work environment. So the learning and development, it takes place in an organization whereby the organization actually renders you a platform, whether as employees, a platform whereby they can actually learn and actually develop themselves personally, and in terms of that, it can actually align the goals and objectives of that particular organization. So under the learning and development environment, we have what we call workplace learning. And workplace learning actually attributes, to a situation whereby, you actually learn on the job per se. You are learning on the job, you do things on the job, and the environment is conducive for you to be able to learn on the job. That's what we refer to as workplace learning. Another one we are going to be talking about here is training. And every organization actually offers training one way or the other to their employees. And this particular training can be on the job training or off the job training. So you can actually be trained in the organization or outside of the organization. In turn, it actually helps, you bringing those skills back to the organization and making sure that everything that has been taught is being implemented in the workplace. And we also talk about performance management, and performance management has to do with, the way the employees actually perform on their job, or actually how their performance is being managed, how they are being rewarded, in certain ways. And then we move on to career development. And it's always advisable, or it's good for, employers, of labor to, develop the careers of their employees. You cannot have employees working for you and you don't develop them, indirectly. So basically, it's good for them to have like a system whereby employees can be rewarded, in their career. For instance, I know some organizations that are affiliated with all these institutes, Chartered Institutes of Personnel Management, ICANN, and the rest of it. They collaborate with them so that, because of the busy schedule of most of these employees, they might not have time to do some certain things. So the employers, try as much as possible to collaborate with these people so that their employees can actually have an advancement in their career. And we move on to the work environment. And what is a work environment? A work environment is a place where employees, actually do their day-to-day activities, actually conduct their day-to-day activities. And a work environment has to be conducive enough for people to work in. So under the work environment, we have leadership. And in terms of reward management, leadership, when you have your leaders, that's your managers, top managers or supervisors, or whichever way we call them, they actually help in motivating people. It's a kind of, motivation. And at the end of the day, it's a kind of reward, because when you are being motivated by a top management to say, oh, Franca, I saw what you did. Oh, you've been doing well. It's, your leader is actually recognizing what you do. And this actually transcends to your work. And you are being rewarded, verbally by, someone in hierarchy. So leadership actually, actually brings in that that's, how would I put it, that context whereby, the reward management attributes into the working environment. Then we have employees' voice, and you'll be wondering how employees' voice can actually equate to reward management in the working environment. And basically, yes, it does. Employees' voice, basically, when managements are making decisions, they should try as much as possible, to hear or the opinion of their employees, because at the end of the day, they know what they want as, to be rewarded to them. So maybe they can just pick a few, not everybody, or even as that they can, do like a survey whereby everybody's input, will be looked into. So employees' voice, also helps in that. And another way we can look into employees' voices, you having team members, and they help actually in you guys help yourself in doing things, and you encourage one another. It's another form of reward whereby people are together, you are not left behind, you are doing things together, and everybody is moving at the same pace. It's another form of reward. Then we have recognition, and I kid you not, recognition is something that is very vital in the workplace. When you are being recognized by your colleagues, your top supervisors or top management team, you feel that sense of acceptance, and it encourages you also, to do more for that organization. So recognition is another form of reward. And then we have achievements. Achievement is when you are able to achieve things that you've not been able to, and the organization has given you that platform to be able to do so. So that's another form of reward. Then lastly, we talk about work-life balance. And what is work-life balance? It's flexible working. And some organizations do it nowadays at this era of COVID-19. A lot of people were working from home. I guess, this is something that most of us, actually did back in 2020. And even till now, you still have some people working from home. And, it helps people, you'll find some people tell you, I work better when I'm at home, or I work better when I'm at work, and all those stuff. So literally, it doesn't make you actually be stationed in one place, and it doesn't make you come to work on a daily basis and all that stuff. So work-life balance is another form of reward whereby the organization actually, try to balance, the working environment or the pace of work of their employees. So we move on to the next slide, which is the context of total reward. And what do we mean by, the context? The context of total reward actually has to do with the internal and external environment, of reward management. And when we're looking at the internal environment, for the internal environment, we look at the purpose of the organization, the products and services, the processes, internal factors, of how, reward is being done or being managed in that particular organization. So for this, the internal reward can be influenced by the following. It can actually be influenced by the culture of the organization. And what do we understand by the culture of the organization? Every organization has its own culture. Do you understand? There are some cultures of some organizations. For instance, if you are going to be rewarded with something, you must have achieved so and so, or you must be in this hierarchy or in this level or something. So everybody has their own culture. Every organization has their own culture as to their reward system internally. Then we move on to the business of the organization. Yes, every organization, depending on the business, they do, would reward their employees, in terms of, the way they carry out things. Do you understand? So for instance, if I work in an organization, that deals with maybe the manufacturing industry, do you understand? Just a minute, please. If I deal with an organization that actually is into manufacturing, yeah, for instance, now if I deal with an organization, that it's into manufacturing, this would actually influence the type of people it employs and the degree to which, it's subject to turbulence and change. For instance, in the public and voluntary sector, the pay of service-related increments rather than progressive pay according to performance or contribution dies hard. So basically what it's trying to tell us here is that depending on the kind of business you do, attracts the kind of people you employ and the kind of reward also that you can actually give them. So basically it's something that, most organizations need to look into. You understand, you cannot employ maybe like for instance, now if I have a manufacturing company, I'm into textile, you cannot employ somebody that is a carpenter. You can come in, you have to employ somebody that maybe is a tailor, especially if the person is, manufacturing textile and sewing them for you, so those are the things, that one needs to look out for. Then we move on to technology, and we say that the technology of a business, exerts a major influence on the internal environment. Yes, we are in the 21st century, and we can see how technology is rapidly going these days. Do you understand? The phone you use today is not something you will use tomorrow and all that stuff. So technology is rapid, it's increasing every day, it's going into a different dimension every day. So it also boils down to, the different skills that you employ and how they are going to be rewarded in terms of their technological capability. And lastly, we move on to the views of workers in the organization. Your workers, they have to have an impact, or on the internal reward system. You understand? You need to know that the workers are valuable people, because they are the ones that actually make or dismake the organization. So in terms of their views, they need to be valued, and also they need to have an input when it comes to the reward system. And we move on to the next slide. Which will be talking about the external environment. The external environment tends to, talk about the globalization aspects, the increased competition and government intervention in organizations. And all this can actually influence the reward policy and practices of different organizations. So what we talk about globalization, we talk about when we talk about globalization, it entails, organizations moving people, ideas, products, around the world to meet, various needs. So when we talk about employment records, an increasing demand for skills and qualification is taking place, especially for managerial and professional workers. So under employment records, before you even actually want to work in a particular place, a lot of people are, intrigued with what, the particular organization, will actually pay them. So they try as much as possible to get the records of, past employers or information, to see how, they are being rewarded and the rest of it. So when you have a good reward system in your organization, you know that you actually attract the best of minds, or like minds that you feel that would enhance the organizational goals and objectives. Then we have pay rates in marketplace, and basically for organizations that have competitors, they try as much as possible to see what their competitors are paying, their employees, so as to see how they can actually boost their reward system, to be able to fit those people that have the skills and knowledge, for the particular activities that will be conducted in that particular organization. Then we move on lastly to demographic trends, and demographic trends talk about the rates at which birth rate or death rate, and we find out that if you look at the demographic trends now, a lot of younger ones are not giving birth to so much children. The birth rate is actually declining. I heard of a particular country. I can't remember. I think I can't remember what country, but they actually give money to couples who actually give birth to more children. And they beg couple, they literally beg, people to give birth, because they found out that the younger generations, the population is actually declining. So, for a country like that, when they check their demographic trends, they see, the amount of young ones and the amount of older ones. Like in those days where our parents would give birth to 8, 9, even a football team, set of children. And right now you have younger couples. Oh, I just want like 2 kids. I just want maximum 3 kids. Nobody is looking into 4 or 5 because of the situation of the economy right now, and the rest. So when they look at these demographic trends, they see how they can balance it up, with their external reward, with the reward system, which in turn will affect the external environment. So we move on to the next slide, which is the reasons and principles for strategic reward. And the reasons for strategic reward, there are 4 arguments, that have been adopted, to actually, see into the context of the reward management. And the first one is you must have some idea where you are going or how you want to do it and how do you know about it. So basically, this transcends to the reward management system. You must have an idea of what reward you want to give to employees, and also you would know how do you want to implement that reward system. And lastly, do you know have you been able to arrive at that goal, being rewarded? What have they been able to achieve, that particular goal? So these are the things, that one needs to do, before, setting out a reward system. And another one we have here is the real benefit in reward strategy lies in complex linkages with other human resource management principles. For instance, there's no way you would link reward system. The reward would be linked to, performance management. It could be linked to career development. It could be linked to training and development. And, all these are actually, form of reward system. So there's no how you won't link the reward strategies to human resource management policies and practices. Thirdly, we'll be talking about positive relation between rewards in the broad sense and performance. Yes, you have to, there is actually a positive relation between rewards and performance. There's no way you cannot link rewards without performance. So performance is, how the employees actually conduct, their activities in the organization and how well they do it, if they are actually meant, to be rewarded in any aspect. And lastly, we move on to pay costs. In most organizations are by far the largest item. Yes, pay costs, yes. Every organization actually spends so much money on pay, salaries to organizations, to their employees rather. So, these are reasons, for strategic rewards. Lastly, we move on to the principles of strategic rewards. And we say we have guiding principles, and the following are the principles of strategic rewards. One, organizations should actually try to align reward strategy with the business and HR strategy. Yes, you cannot just conduct a reward strategy just like that on your own as a top management. You need to be able to align it with the business and also the HR strategy, which will give you an insight into the kind of reward that will be useful to your employees. Another one we'll be talking about is value employees according to their competence and contribution. Yes, you need to value your employees, according to their competence. If somebody has actually worked, you need to be able to reward that person according to the measure, of what he or she has been able to do for the organization. Not when somebody doesn't do anything and at the end of the day, the person, receives, a reward. It doesn't, talk good of the organization because people are watching, others have been working hard and have not been rewarded accordingly. So it's fair, and just for employers to value employees according to their competence and contribution. And then we move on to reward people according to what the organization values and is prepared to pay for. Yes, your organizations need to reward their employees according to what they have. You cannot, promise an employee something that you don't have. it doesn't speak well of the organization. And besides, employees will not be motivated to do anything, because they'll just say, oh, even if they tell you they will give you this and they won't do it, so just do it if you do. And that's not a good mindset. So even if it's little, it's just something that the organization can afford. Yeah. And lastly, to ensure that reward processes are transparent and that if staff are treated as stakeholders. Yes, that's a vital and important aspect. Yes, reward processes should be transparent. We should not keep it enclosed, whereby employees become, suspicious of things that are going on. And at the end, maybe when the results come out, they see people that have not even done quarter of what they've done are being, rewarded. So it should be transparent. There should be like guidelines, to things, so that everybody can see that, oh, yes, this person is actually deems fit, for earning this reward. So for lesson 2, sorry, this is going to be changed. This is lesson 2, the summary for lesson 2. Basically, you've learned the nature of total reward, the concept, the context of total reward, and lastly, the reasons and principles of total reward. So basically, we've come to, like I said, we are just going to run through these slides, and then you can watch the lesson video, on which would actually be pasted on the platform for your consumption. So I remain your humble facilitator, Temi Olajide Arishe. You can actually contact me on temirima@yahoo.com. So basically it's bye for now, and I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two concerning the topic, the nature and context of total reward. And basically, if you have any question, you can, or we have our question and answer chat up day, which is usually on Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So you can actually chat me up if you have any questions. And don't forget to always contribute to the discussion forum. It is very vital. It will tell us if you've actually been able to read your notes and all that, so that if there are any problems, we can actually provide solutions to them. So it's bye for now, and see you at the top. So thank you and have a lovely week.